society or a country. So you always need to be aware of those as well. With any marketing campaign, you do need to be aware of trade policies in place that will impact your ability to place products or promote products within your target market. GATT and GATS are two examples. Those are both now superseded by the governance of the World Trade Organization. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade of Goods is GATT, and the General Agreement on Trade and Services is GATS. How we exchange goods and services is regulated by the World Trade Organization, and most nations of the world are a member. Many nations find it beneficial to be a member nation of the World Trade Organization because when conflict arises, the World Trade Organization will look at its guiding principles to promote economic stability and reduce conflict in deciding the conflict. And it also helps people and businesses predict how they can do business internationally, which creates stability for them and allows them to make strategic plans that have a greater chance of success. These international trade organizations and policies over the last several decades, since World War II specifically, have really focused on creating more free trade or free markets. This has had an impact on the world economy by creating lower inflation and relative global stability. The reason is when there are wide free markets, each country will focus on what it can produce most cheaply and effectively and in abundance so that they can ship it to other places and not focus their efforts on creating things that would be more expensive to do than just importing it from somewhere else and buying it. So while this has led to a depression in incomes and perhaps in some places of the world jobs, it has created the ability for most consumers to afford products and has led to inflation that is historically much lower than it was before these organizations and policies existed. There is a current movement throughout the world to become more protectionist, particularly you see this in America and England by their Brexit vote, them leaving the European Union, which is still being negotiated. But what can sometimes happen is citizens of a certain country might start to reject that these supranational organizations or these policies are impeding their personal freedoms and or are having a negative impact on the country and it's not being addressed. So you will now see in situations like that more of a protectionist stance where the government, the people vote in, will create policies that will help protect the industries within their nation. And examples of how they might do this might be tariffs. They may even confiscate or expropriate certain properties in extreme circumstances where they don't want foreign countries or entities doing business within that area. Another tool they might use would be to boycott or embargo any goods from leaving the country or coming into the country that are deemed to erode the industries that are native to that country. A negative example of protectionist policies would be the Great Depression. One of the major causes of the Great Depression in the United States was that protectionist policies in the form of tariffs limited the number of imports that were coming from overseas, and particularly Europe, and that ended up creating inefficiencies in our system, leading to further job loss, the exact opposite of what it was intended to accomplish because we were creating more goods than we could sell, and we then closed ourselves off to doing business with others. It tends not to be a good thing for countries we're trading with to impose tariffs on their goods coming in. It is a major deterrent for them to want to continue to do business with the country. And overall, historically, this has actually led to inefficiencies that create more volatility and negative outcomes economically. Here are three major trade agreements that are existing throughout the world now. NAFTA, of course, we are part of as the United States. It's now called the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Mercosur exists among several South American nations, and ASEAN exists among several Southeast Asian countries. If you're doing business with a country that's a part of a trade agreement and your country is not, it could have a major impact on your marketing campaign, and it should be addressed within that campaign strategically. The tools presented in this video will help you analyze the political conditions within each country you are doing business in, the political spectrum, and the mental model of understanding individualism versus collectivism will help you create a marketing mix that will best suit your marketing objectives. Final two notes. If you come across doing business in a totalitarian or authoritarian regime, you should know that that can exist on both ends of the political spectrum, so you should dig further to see if there's an individualistic or collectivistic bent or approach to the governance in that country. And lastly, political impact considerations and marketing efforts are more pronounced when introducing a new product or service. So be mindful of that. If you are brand new to the space, you really need to examine much more deeply the political impact. Lastly, you may want to pause this slide, but I've detailed several questions below that would be researchable questions when you are doing an integrated marketing plan. Your situation analysis and the research that comes with that always translates into your marketing mix that helps you formulate it such a way to reach your target market. The questions that are at the back of each chapter of the text helps you do the same, and even the prompts within the integrated marketing plan itself will help guide you to what considerations you need to be mindful of when creating your plan. Again, if you have any questions, please message me on Canvas and I will gladly get back to you. Please do not wait to the last minute to complete assignments. It gives me almost no time to help you. So 48 hours or more would be the best way to ask for guidance or help so that I could get to you in time to help you so you can maximize your success on whatever assignment is you have questions about. Thank you and take care.